We start off our video at Griffith, Indiana, where we find CN 2913 leading a manifest turning east on the Madison. Soon after, a westbound manifest with CN 5790 in charge passes the yard at Griffith. Next up, CN 3021 leads westbound racks on the former Grand Trunk. Now working our way east on the Madison, CN 3822 East leads a manifest bound for CN's Kirk Yard at Gary, Indiana. Near Van Loon, a former IC SD70 leads a westbound local with an impressive EMD lash-up. Just outside of Kirk Yard, CN 8939 leads a westbound manifest under Industrial Highway in Gary, Indiana. Racing CN 8939 is the daily CSX interchange job with CSX 8033 on point. Now at Busy Pine Junction, our first train would be NS 8994 West on the NS Chicagoland. Soon after, the South Shore interchange job takes a second to talk to local rail fans. We move back outside the yard on the Madison, where we find CN 2966 East. Soon after, CN 5713 leads a westbound local with another impressive lash-up. Back at Pine, we get a warm welcome from a CN pull-down. Leading the set is CN 9544, a GP40-2 WL built in 1975. We shoot this same set as it shoves back into the massive former EJ&E Kirk yard. A CN manifest with a BNSF leader finishes the final mile as it enters the yard. We look south across Pine as a pair of NS-9s lead a westbound local. A pull-down shoves back into the yard with CN 5273 and EJ&E 667 for power. We move to the east end of the yard and take some time to look around with the drone. Our first train is a westbound CSX manifest on the Garrett subdivision. In the background of the shot is one of the many steel mills in Gary, Indiana. While Gary is one of the most decayed cities in the Midwest, 27% of the U.S. steel production still takes place in Gary and the Hoosier State. Flying over the mill, we see a trio of Gary Railway butthead switchers reversing light power back into the mill. The Gary Railway is a Class 3 railroad that switches former EJ&E tracks sold by CN in 2009. Looking south from above the mill, we see another westbound CSX manifest on the Garrett subdivision. This train is led by two Union Pacific General Electrics. Most of the shots in Gary are in areas that aren't the best to shoot trains in. If you plan a trip to the area, please take precautions in the areas you pull out a camera. Also, be vigilant and stay off of railroad property. Most likely, every shot in Pine is railroad owned. Back at the west end of the yard, our first train would be NS 9712 East with hot stacks. Following close behind, NS 4016 leads an eastbound manifest. Zooming to the north, we see a CN manifest entering the yard with BNSF 5855 on point. Up above, two pull-downs give it their all as they race out of the yard. Leading the winning set is IC 9613, a former Death Star GP38-2. While awaiting the sets to come back, Amtrak 68, a P-42 DC, leads the eastbound Wolverine. NS 7560 West passes a stopped intermodal on the Chicagoland. Now, IC 9613 shoves back into Kirk after making its double. Back on the Chicagoland, NS 7592 East leads 4 in stacks. move west to CP 502 on the Chicagoland, where we see a pair of Cliff's butthead switchers moving empty gons. Eastbound comes into view with NS 8114, the Norfolk Southern Heritage Unit leading. We move farther west near Whiting, where we find KCS 5024 leading a CNX Tier 4 demo unit. Eastbound Amtrak P365, the Blue Water, meets the westbound at this location. Back at CP 502, we find an IHB SW 1500 finishing up the work for the day and heading back home. We shoot this unit one more time as it reverses back south. We jump back to Pine Junction for a few more before we call it quits for the day. First, we would see westbound west style of coal empties on the Chicagoland with BNSF 6031 on point. We finish off the day with BNSF 8233 East with the CPKC manifest. After spending a good portion of the morning at Wellsboro, Indiana, we get a late start to the day at Ogden Dunes. Our first train would be a westbound Wolverine with a P42 on point. Close behind NS 9860 leaves the westbound local. As the parade of westbounds continue, Amtrak 365, the Blue Water, takes his turn at Ogden. Next, BNSF 3874 East leads a long manifest. Once clear, NS 7578 West would cross over and proceed west. Now, inside of the South Shores parking lot, NS 8141 leads hot eastbound stacks. Soon after, a westbound crude oil comes into view with an NS SD70 ACC on point. Close behind, CP 8053 leads a westbound manifest. NS 2770, a newly reactivated SD70 M-2, leads an eastbound local into the Burns Harbor Yard. East of our location, 2770 would meet NS 4590 west with a manifest. Once clear, another westbound Wolverine would come into view with the Charger leading. From high above, we look down at a westbound manifest with a trio of Union Pacifics for power. Next, Hotshot NS205 with Engineer Steve at the throttle flies west. Our final train to Ogden would be an eastbound coal load destined for West Isle of Michigan. We move east near Dolton Junction, where we find an eastbound CF&E train with a freshly repainted Dash 8 on point. Right outside of Markham, we find CN Z148 doubling out his train with CN 3015 on point. We jump ahead of the train at Madison, where we shoot a Metro Electric before our train shows up. After a short wait, CN 3015 would come into view and turn for points eastward in Michigan and Canada. We catch back up to this train and shoot it at track speed east of Griffith, Indiana. We hang around for one more before calling it quits as CN 2983 East leads M394 destined for Toronto. We start off the next morning at Blue Island, Illinois. Our first train would be a westbound intermodal with CSX 907 on point. Next, BNSF 7909 leads a manifest east into the IHB yard. Once clear, we jump around the yard to Indiana Ave in hopes of shooting some pull-downs. Here we would see UP 7849 take the connection on point of an Autorat train. Oddly, the 7849 would return light power shortly after. From high above, we look east at Dolton Junction as we see an eastbound CSX intermodal round the bend. Dolton is a busy place to catch lots of CSX intermodals, along with trains coming in and out of the busy bar yard. Next, UP 6350 and next SP AC 44CW leads a manifest east past our location. Above, we get a look at another CSX intermodal making its way through Dolton Junction, this one being an eastbound. Here we see a barnyard pull down coming across Indiana Ave with a freshly rebuilt CSX SD23T4. Back at ground level, we get our first IHB pull-down of the day. Leading is IHB 2021, a rebuilt slug paired with an XCN GP40-2WL. Soon after, a trio of IHB SW1500s departs with an interchange train. We would catch back up to the trio south of Dolton Junction at 144th Street. Once clear, we would move north back to familiar territory at Pine Junction. Our first train would be a westbound Amtrak Wolverine. Soon after, an eastbound CPKC manifest storms east past our location. A over-under meet takes place as a westbound CN train exits Kirk Yard and a CSX intermodal flies east with BNSF power. While awaiting a local to show up, two GPs emerge from the yard with IC 3115 leading. Soon after, the local in question shows up with an all-fallen flag lash-up. Leading is IC 1034 and IC 1027, two EMD SD70s with an ex-grain truck Jeep 38 third out. Back on the Garrett subdivision, CSX 907 leads an eastbound intermodal. Of note, this is the same power set seen at Blue Island this morning. Soon after, Amtrak P364 flies east on the Chicagoland. Leading up to a three-way meet, BNSF 3820 East rolls under a CN manifest entering Kirk Yard. Meanwhile, NS 4638 West starts from a stop. Another CN local enters Kirk Yard with a similar lash-up. This time, third out is a CN SD60. Back on CSX 3064 leads a westbound intermodal. Looking north, we see an interesting pull-down lash-up shoving back into the yard. BLE 902, a rebuilt tunnel motor, is paired with GT 4623, a GP9R. Here, CSX 4059, an EMD SD 40-3 is on point of an impressive GE lash-up. UP 5400 leads an intermodal west on the CSX as NS 8010 races it west on the Chicagoland. We end off our video back on CSX as CP 7032 and SD 70 ACU leads a westbound sand train. I hope you enjoyed this video as we explored lots of hot spots around Chicagoland. If you liked this video, please consider subscribing for more quality railroading content like this. As always, I'm Logan, and I'll see you trackside.